Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with Rob Henderson. We are going to talk about a movie with just a very funny premise called "Look Who's Back." It's it's based on a novel. It's a German movie that came out in 2015 on the verge of Trump. Um, it's
Mm.
and it's like kind of supposed to be funny, I guess. It's supposed to be funny and dark. It's supposed to be funny and
Black comedy.
it's supposed to be a black comedy, and it seems like the message is, uh, Hitler is really all around us, and we're going to be, we're the Hitler, like we're going towards Hitler's always basically there. It's a very kind of left wing thing that's kind of like hysterical about, fascism returning to Germany. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I think it's lampooning the idea of fascism returning. Initially, that's how it starts, but then the ending is a bit strange. I think they tried to maybe shoehorn the contemporary politics of that time into something more of a warning. So it was a weirder movie than I thought. I thought it was going to be like a straightforward satire, but maybe because the book it was based on was published in 2012 when kind of the prevailing center left liberalism was more secure, but by 2015 with the rise of Trump, the migration crisis, the stirrings of far right populism or whatever, that by the end of the movie you saw, right, like they were trying to intersperse or intersplice these cuts of newsreels of right wing protesters protesting immigration, clips of Trump, and was it like Berlusconi and like European leaders,
Mhm. Not,
sort of
I don't think
anti-immigration.
Trump was there. Came out in 2015, so Trump really wasn't on the scene as a political leader at the time. But
Is
yeah, it
that
had Le Pen and it had
when
these
did
different
this? Was he not? Okay, maybe I could be misremembered because the movie came out in October of 2015,
Trump
so that would have
announced
given
himself.
them enough time
No, he
because he
announced his
announced
presidency
in
in July. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
That's
it wouldn't have been that hard to add a little clip of him saying something, at the end there. But yeah, I'd have to revisit to see. But the main point is that they were trying to make a sort of commentary on the contemporary politics of a decade ago.
yeah.
Of the warnings of, well, you think this was all a joke, but maybe it's not as funny as you think.
It's funny. No. I mean, it had to be that way because, like, if you know anything about Germany and German law, you can't just make a movie of Hitler and just him being Hitler or just have him being funny. It's the
Mm-hmm.
culture of Germany is just, we're always in a state of remembrance about the past. And they have this funny scene where they start investigating the network so Hitler that Hitler's on for like hate speech, and then the lawyer comes down and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's probably some left winger." Like all these people who prosecute people for hate speech laws in Germany are like a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of secret right wingers who like agree with racism. Right? It's like it was that was very unrealistic. The German kind of censorship state. I don't know if it's gotten worse in the last 10 years, but the way it is now, it's very, very restrictive as far as what you can say. And so this perspective is like, oh my God, like racism is everywhere and like nobody enforces these laws.
Yeah, that's interesting. I lived there like basically during the period that the book came out and then this film came out, and I was aware of it at the time, but I didn't watch or read. I think maybe it hadn't been translated yet. Um, but it did seem like basically I haven't been there really since, but my impression was that Germany was less restrictive back then than it is now. Maybe not legally or formally, but culturally they seemed more relaxed, because again that was before the migration crisis, before populist backlash, that kind of thing. And I think that Obama was the president. Merkel still had a strong reputation in Germany. People seemed to be more or less secure in the political future. And so, yeah, like I don't think that movie could be made today, even with the warnings at the end. I think people would be far less
So
supportive. At least, yeah.
you were aware of it? Were you aware of like the discourse, what people were saying about it at the time?
No, I wasn't. I vaguely recall at the time I was dating a German girl, and I pointed out the book cover to her, and we were in a bookstore, and she laughed and thought it was funny.
Hmm.
And I had some German friends. I wasn't like plugged into the like German media. I wasn't reading the newspapers and stuff, but I knew German people, and they seemed like they were willing to talk about things as long as they felt that they were not going to be judged. They were open about the kinds of things like race differences, sex differences. Not
Hmm.
all countries are the same. It wasn't like they weren't like racist or anything. They weren't like whatever. There was no malice. But like they would acknowledge, like, yeah, it is weird that like you go to Berlin and like there are a lot of Turks who live there and they don't seem that interested in being German. And
Hmm.
that's just kind of how things are.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember hearing about this in the US. I might have read like a New Republic article back
Mm-hmm.
around the time it came out. So I might have read a review. I was always vaguely aware of this, and I remember the impression I got was like, yeah, they're trying to warn about fascism or whatever, which was, I think, it has to be the politically correct interpretation. The So it's, I don't know. I thought it was funny. I mean, so, Hitler wakes up and he's like in this park, I guess, where his bunker was. So he's just somehow come back to life, fully in uniform. He just wanders around. This guy takes him in like a newsstand. So Hitler educates himself. He starts reading the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes something, there's this historical inaccuracy that bothers me. He goes, I see the Ottoman, the Turks are in here. The Ottoman Empire collapsed. The Ottoman Empire collapsed in the First World War. Hitler coming back to life would have known that, so he wouldn't have thought there was still an Ottoman Empire.
Hmm.
So there's this little historical anomaly that kind of bothered me a little bit, but it was otherwise funny. Hitler is sitting there and he's like reading the newspapers, and then he becomes like a comedian, right? He becomes comedian on this show, and I guess like what they're showing is, I guess it's supposed to be a critique, right? That like secretly people agree with this, or secretly people don't think is as bad as they pretend, and then Hitler like just becomes a celebrity as a result, and they think he's not real Hitler. Obviously, they think he's
Hmm.
like a fake, but it's like the idea is, well,
Like
these
an Elvis
ideas.
impersonator or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like an impersonator, right? And and so they and then he takes off. I don't know. Like, did you think the movie was funny?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was funny. Yeah, I mean that's like the premise of the film. So for people who because a lot of people will listen to these and they don't actually watch the movies, weirdly, which I don't
Really?
understand. But that is the premise of the film: is that Adolf Hitler like wakes up in a park in 2014, I think, in the film when it takes place, and he's wandering around like wondering what happened to Germany, and then like he like gets discovered by this media company who gives him his own show as like a kind of like that's his bit. His is just like saying doing his Hitler impersonation for the public, talking about immigrants and the future of Germany and all this stuff, and people are just eating it up and thinking it's funny, as he like condemns how soft Germany is today and this kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was amusing. I don't know if I had any like actual laugh out loud moments, but I was amused all throughout.
Well, there was
And
yeah. There was a very
yeah.
funny. I wish I wrote it down. There was
Mm,
this scene where I cracked up, where Hitler was
mm.
giving him dating advice or something, and he was like, "Oh, you must like blitzkrieg," or something. It was like something so
Oh yeah,
stupid.
yeah, yeah.
And then I cracked up. I forget what it was. I wish I wrote this down.
Yeah, I
Um,
think he was giving advice to the aspiring filmmaker who tries to film him
yeah,
in like a documentary
Fabian,
style
right?
movie. Fabian,
Uh-huh.
right? Fabian has a crush on, who is it, like Vera? The She's like a receptionist at the media company, and
Mhm.
then Hitler is like, "Yeah, stop being so soft. Like you need to blitzkrieg that and like go for it and
Yeah,
stop being so soft and weak." And it was interesting to see like they had a surprisingly like basically they had a surprisingly sympathetic portrayal of Hitler. Like he
yeah,
was saying whatever his hateful stuff and whatever, but he had this magnetic screen presence. Everyone was bending around him. I guess it's maybe meant to show like this is how Hitler came to power. Is like people were in the presence of this like super confident, self assured guy. Um, I think they made him taller than he was in real life. So Hitler, the real Hitler, was something like 5'9", and this actor seemed probably around 6 feet, maybe slightly taller. He seemed taller than most of the male actors he was
uh-huh.
around, and I looked this up online because the actor, or at least Hitler in the film, had brown eyes, but the real Hitler supposedly had blue eyes.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean,
I
not
wonder if that
supposedly.
was
I think we know
intentional.
that from a fact. I think we know that for certainty.
Wait, what? The what?
He had blue eyes. I mean, that's not
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
supposedly. Yeah, it's not like an ancient
Oh,
Greek or something. Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah, 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 sure. Well, I mean, all the photos I've seen have been black and white, and like I haven't actually,
I think
yeah,
you can.
like
I think
looked
you can.
deeply into it.
I think you can actually tell. I'm not sure for black
Okay.
and white, but yeah. Anyways,
Yeah. Well, I've never gazed closely into his eyes, but I've read
never had that
in
experience.
articles that that Hitler had like pale blue eyes or something. But I don't remember the exact source, so I don't want to say with confidence. But if you're saying so, then yeah, it sounds like he did have blue eyes. But the actor in the film had brown eyes, and they didn't make him wear contacts or anything. So there's some interesting kind of choices there. Um, but yeah, like you could see, like he had this magnetic charisma, and the only thing they really did to I don't know, make fun of him in an overt way was when he like Fabian like had him go out on the sidewalk and be one of those like street painters where he would like draw caricatures of people, and the paintings were like stick figures. They were horrible. And I think they were trying to make fun of Hitler's artistic skill, but in fact, if you look up Hitler's actual paintings, they weren't that bad. Like he had some kind of raw talent there, but that was like the only thing that was, that seemed to like overtly undermine him in some way.
He was an art. I mean, he was an architect. He was. I think he had like paintings. I don't know if he drew people, but in the thing he was drawing like caricatures. And this is a weird thing about the film. Like some of it seemed like it was real. So it's like Borat, where like it's like acting, but it's also like a bunch of skits. And I
Mm-hmm.
think like some of those scenes were like real. And you see the faces of the people were kind of blurred. It's kind of crazy German law where like the people are just all blurred out. I mean, it just made the just kind of I think it was like an intrusion.
Oh yeah.
And like even when they showed the clips at the end, all those clips of the far right people and how dangerous they are, they would show like the person standing next to them would be like their face would be blurred out. It was just like constant throughout the movie. This like constant reminder that Germany has like crazy laws about like showing people's faces in movies. Um,
They used to have, and I don't know if this is still the case, they have this law, the right to be forgotten law, where you can request to basically have like all like online information about you scrubbed.
uh,
Um,
is that
and
Germany or I thought is that a Europe thing or a German
I
thing?
think it might be like an EU thing. I don't know if it's German specific, but at least in Germany, but if not, also in other EU
I
countries.
assume you have to be a private person. You can't be like a
Oh yeah,
influencer.
yeah. As a public figure, I don't think so. But if you're a normal citizen, you can have like the information scrubbed if you want. Very different than the U.S. Um, but yeah, that's a good point. I remember thinking that too. That there was this like sort of documentary feel to some of the scenes, where it's like a handheld camera and Hitler's going around and people are coming up to him and like high fiving him or waving at him, and they treat him as like you're at Disneyland and you're seeing Mickey Mouse or something.
Yeah,
Like there was that sort
I
of
think that was supposed to be part of the
dynamic.
point. So Borat, the what's that guy? Sasha Baron Cohen is that his name?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He would say like, "Oh, I was showing like I was going around being anti-Semitic," and then people would agree with it. And I would like show that anti-Semitism was like still
Oh
there.
yeah, that's
So there
right.
was this
Yeah.
kind of there was this kind of like lecturing like thing, the undercurrent to Borat, like, oh my god, this racism is everywhere. The movie, so I yeah, so the movie there was something I wanted to look back. Oh yeah, okay, the other thing that was about the reel. So did you see where they talked to the like the leaders of the German right-wing parties?
Uh, the yeah, I vaguely remember.
Yeah.
Remind me, what was the?
So he like goes to like this meeting of, I think they're called the National Democrats. First of all, he talks to somebody from Alternative for Deutschland. So like he
Oh
talks to
yeah.
a guy, and then that guy's like, he's like, Hitler's trying to like make contact with these right wing parties. The Alternative for Deutschland guy puts him to sleep because he's saying, "Oh, we need, I don't know, balanced budgets or something like that." And then
Mhm.
Hitler's like just sleeping on his shoulder. That guy was really him. That was him. That was really an AFD guy. Um,
Oh, interesting.
but then Hitler goes to like, I think the more extreme party, the National Democrats, and he those people were actors. Okay,
Wait,
and
the
so
more extreme party, more extreme than AFD?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Wait, they
I
were
think
like more right wing
yeah,
than
yeah,
the
yeah.
AFD.
AFD
Oh,
like
okay,
claims not to be racist and so forth, and these people are ethno nationalists. So they've been around and they've gotten like a few percentage of the vote in
oh,
German
okay.
elections, and
AFD,
they've
I
been
know, but yeah, I didn't know
yeah.
there was another more
Oh
extreme
no, there are
party.
National
Okay,
Democrats. Yeah, they've gotten like a few percentage of the votes. They've been like banned and like unbanned and stuff like that, and so
okay,
Hitler goes to them too. But those people are actors, and they don't even they say there's like a thing. It's like ND. I think it's like whatever the party is called, and then it says their leader, and then but that wasn't the real guy, and it was even they changed the name. So it was the change the
okay.
name of the party leader. It was like loosely based because German. I talked to ChatGPT about this. German law, like you could sue him, right? He could sue him if he portrayed this guy and then like had somebody who like acted like him. So they changed the name, and so yeah, so Hitler goes in there, and he's like, you guys are a bunch of wimps, right? He's like trying to like encourage them
Oh yeah, yeah.
to be proud of themselves. And it's trying to give the impression that it's like kind of real, but it's like it's not. That's actors. So does have this commentary on like the German parties are just the descendants of Hitler. Oh, and by the way, this other scene, this is kind of underhanded, where the guy who's playing the leader of the far right German party says something like, "Turn off the camera," and he's like, if you were really him, I'd follow you, right, or something like that. I'd follow you into war, and like you were supposed
Mm,
to get the impression that this was the real guy. He wasn't the real guy.
mm.
It was all scripted. And they
Oh
made
yeah.
this up
Yeah.
like that they exposed the far right German party for being, a bunch of Hitlerites.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I guess if people, if people read about it or learn about it, they'll recognize like that wasn't a real scene, and everyone knows. Like, I mean, I would assume everyone knows this is not a documentary, right? Like,
Well,
it
I
is a
mean, no,
scripted
because
film.
it is in parts. Like the AFD exchange was real, and then they
Oh,
threw in
I
that other
see.
one, which was fake. And like some of those
So the
people,
AFD interaction, that was completely unscripted.
I don't know if it was unscripted. It was the guy himself,
Yeah.
as like
Okay. I
like
mean, fair
ChatGPT.
enough. But
And I think it was
yeah.
unscripted because he didn't say
Okay.
anything that amazing. So I think
Okay.
it was that, and I think they just didn't have anything like that
Maybe they
good.
tried to get the actual whatever they were, the other far right party. They tried
Okay.
to get them, but then they couldn't.
No, I think it was a lawsuit. So I did look. So yeah, here I found my Chat GPT discussion about this. You can search your old chats now, which is very cool. Um, so there was, the guy's name was. I asked like what's scripted and what's unscripted, um, and then so let me see here. Yeah, so for instance, the far right NPD leader is represented by the character Ulf Bryn, a stand in based on real figures like Holger Apfel. So, yeah, so other political interactions are scripted, not candid. And then I asked, what about there was an AFD member who played himself? And then, I did so much research here. I went back to ChatGPT and I found the guy's name and I said, what about this guy, Tobias Paterka? And then ChatGPT says, you're right on the money. He did have a cameo. According to the German Wikipedia page, he appeared in the film as a guest in a cameo role. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so there we go. And so that was this is what they were trying to do. The NDP. Let me see here about this party. NPD. I want to
NPD.
I want
Okay.
to see if they're even still around. Yeah,
National
Germany's
Democratic Party,
National Democratic
officially
Party.
called the Homeland.
Yeah,
Well, this is the Wikipedia page, but yeah, they call it the
yeah,
Homeland.
since 2023, they have no seats in anything. Yeah, so they're completely shut out. Yeah, so on January 2024, the Federal Constitutional Court excluded the party from party funding for 6 years, so they can't get like the normal stuff, right? AFD itself has problems, but these
Yeah.
people are like beyond AFD. So they get. Oh, by the way, here's a strange thing. Hitler would say, like, if there's one party I agree with, it would be the Greens. Did you see this
Yeah, that
part?
was that. Yeah, I remember that. That was funny. Well, but he himself, like, he supported environmentalist causes,
Yeah,
and he was an animal rights guy.
yeah,
He was a vegetarian in the final years of his life. So I don't know. I like at first I thought it was funny, but it did kind of fit. Like it wasn't it wasn't a complete surprise. Like yeah, he would have
yeah,
some sympathy for a
yeah.
party that prioritized like preserving the beauty of Germany or something
Yeah,
like
but the
that.
Greens are like pro-immigration and they're woke. I think in Germany and all European countries. So
Okay.
it's I wonder what the like is this like a very centrist director? Like is he like saying, well, there's also a threat from the left, like these Greens are kind of like Hitler too? I mean, was that kind of the message there?
Well, that may have been the mess, or that Trump, or not Trump, like the general like far right parties or whatever, like populism, like that's not really consistent with what Hitler is. Like Hitler is something else entirely, because like people don't really take the Green Party seriously either. Or I was thinking like you don't want to associate Hitler with any of the mainstream parties either, right? Because then you're
No,
going to
wait,
just turn off half your
The Green
audience.
Party of Germany was actually has actually become pretty big. Let me see what it's actually if it was before, like it was always. So it's got 85 seats out of 630 at the Bundestag.
Hmm.
Let me see if that's
The
recent.
German Parliament.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, in 2009 they got 9% of the vote. They're one of the one of the parties that gets into
Okay.
parliament. So they were a
Yeah.
real party. They were on the scene. They weren't they've gotten
Were they less popular 10 years ago
yeah
when this
they were
film?
yeah
Yeah.
they did
Okay.
have a they did have a chancellor. Was there a green chancellor? And like they were part of a coalition with the leftists. Um,
Was
did
that
they
the
have?
SPD?
Yeah, Olaf Scholz. Yeah, Olaf Scholz was part of the Green. Yeah, he was part of the Green Party, so he was part of a coalition left. So they had a Green. They had a chancellor. They had a Green chancellor recently, but like 10 years ago, they were a party. They just weren't. I don't know. Like I don't know the culturally here. If I wish some German would tell us if it was like were there people who are centrist in Germany being like, oh, the Nazis are bad, but also the Greens. Like either one of these sides will take us back to Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah, there could have been multiple reasons. Also, it's just funny, right? Like it is just funny that like, oh, actually Hitler is he's a supporter of the Green Party, which is like hilarious, kind of out of left field, but not entirely inconsistent with his character. So, yeah, I think it's maybe it's not supposed to be particularly deep. And they didn't want I don't think they wanted Hitler to be supporter of the main political parties, because then like the audience who
Yeah,
supports those parties are going to feel uncomfortable if you're saying like, oh, if Hitler were around today he would support what is it, like the CDU or the SPD, like the
uh,
mainstream right and left
right.
political parties.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But then again,
yeah,
the Greens were like they were 8% of the vote. I mean they did have seats. They did have seats in Parliament. So
it is a weird country that this film could be made, that does kind of, I know it's supposed to be comedy and everything, but it does kind of make Hitler look cooler than you would expect. And yet, like
yeah,
you can't sell, like buy or sell copies of Mein Kampf.
uh-huh.
Um and it's a weird thing that like you can't get access to the words that the man himself wrote, but you can make a movie and sell tickets, kind of making him look strangely appealing, not just in the film itself, but also like to the audience watching the film. Because like in the film, the characters all like him, right? Like you're kind of glamorizing him in a way. Um, do you think this movie could be made today? I don't think it could. Um,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
even know if you could like dress up as Hitler and walk around in Germany today. I just feel like the times are so different.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about how much Germany's changed, but I think
Yeah.
like you can get away with a lot in art. We talked about this in Enora. We talk about it in other movies too, where
Hmm.
it's like if you just like that postscript at the end like saves it, right? It's like here's all the right. Well, like it just tells you what the lesson is. The lesson is all
Yeah,
these
that's true.
right wing parties are Hitler, and this
As
is
long as
saying
the
if Hitler came
end
back, he would be so happy.
is,
He
yeah,
would say,
you reach
I,
the right conclusion.
yeah, exactly. So like as long as you have that, it's like I think people don't question art as much. They just, they take it as like that's enough for most people. So maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're right. He is cool in the movie. He is cool. He is funny. He does like he's like motivated. He's like smart. He plans,
Yeah.
he learns about the world, and then he goes out there and like follows through. He's got
His
a
love interest, Katya, likes him, right? The
yeah,
managing director of that
yeah,
media company.
yeah,
She's
he's
like
very
taken
liberal
with
on
him.
women. Yeah, he's not against a woman having uh
Oh, yeah,
power.
powerful. Yeah, a job, a powerful
Yeah,
position.
yeah,
Yeah. Very
yeah,
forward thinking on gender politics.
yeah. So Hitler is he's likable. It's It's